Howdy folks. I'm sitting on the side. Howdy folks. I got a little subject prepared and I got it here on the computer. And I'd like to talk to you about women. By the way, I forgot to take my Bible. One moment. Yes. King James. Both of them. King James Version and not the Dutch Statenvertaling, but NBG, the Dutch Bible Association translation. I use this one a lot. Okay. The subject is women. Well, I came to this subject because yesterday it was Father's Day, and of course the role of the man was talked about. So I started looking. There was a good preaching of the lady of the church, and so I tried to look up in Genesis the position of the man and so on. But on the other side, I know that. The man and the woman were created by God, so I know that some ladies have problems with how in the Christian history men have treated them and what the position of the woman is in what the Bible tells. Some women have big time troubles with what the Bible writes about women. And also the history in the Christian history shows that women have not always been valued in the right value they should have been valued. Am I saying that's correct? Well, so that's why I did a word study of what the woman. About something about the woman, where the woman comes from, and what that means spiritually. And so, what I looked for is at a certain point, God created a human, Adam. And he took Adam out of the ground, Adamah. And he took the human from the earth, just somewhere from the earth. And next to that, he formed also a garden, the Garden of Eden. And first, he created man outside of the Garden of Eden and placed him in the Garden of Eden. Then also God formed all kinds of animals, because God said, it's not good that the human, the man, that the human, Adam, is single, alone. And then God says, I will make him a help, a support that fits with him. And then God created all the animals out of the Adamah, the ground, and he brought them to the human to see what he would call them. And but the human did not find an appropriate living being to accompany him. So God put a sleep on Adam, and he took a part of Adam, usually is translated with a rib, and from that part he built a woman, he created a woman. Well, and then Adam says, this is finally bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, and she will be called woman, Isjah, because she is taken from the ish, from the man. So the woman was created deliberately from the man, from Ish. That's why she's called Isjah. Now some people who say, well, the human was Ish and Isjah in one body. Well, that's not what the Bible teaches us. It clearly says that because she is taken out of the man. She's taken out of Ish to be Isjah. So that's why that's not a good reasoning that the human is man and wife, man and woman in the same time, and then they were split. No, that is not what the Bible teaches, and I don't agree with it. But many women, or some women, think that in that wise. Well, it's not what the Bible says, because here it says, Isjah is taken out of Ish, out of the man, not out of a human that was both at the same time, man and woman at the same time, a man woman, whatever that may be. Okay, but God took a part out of Adam, the human. But I was thinking, what part? Here it's translated with a rib. Okay, so I looked up in the Hebrew what that word was. What we translate, what is usually translated as a rib, and it's in Hebrew it's tselah. Tzadik, Lamet, Ayin and Hey, tselah. Not to mix it with selah, which is used in Psalms to show a resting period. And blah, 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 selah, rest, have a rest. So it's not the same word. But in Hebrew it's tselah. And if you look up selah in the rest of the Bible, I found about 41 positions where the same word or the Hebrew root of that word is used. So I was thinking, especially because women, some women regard themselves as not so important, and say, well, the Bible is telling that women are not that important, etc., etc., etc. Well, is that true? First, God said, I will make this man, or to the human, a help that is equal to him. Yeah? So, alike, a help that is alike, like him, like himself. And I found out that tselah does not necessarily mean rib. In general, it means side. So it could be one of the sides, yeah, to support. One of the sides to support. And if you look at all the verses then that same word occurs, it's the position is not so unfavorable as many people may think. Okay, I'll tell you the verses where you can find this word. In Genesis 2 verse 21, Genesis 2 verse 22, Genesis 32 verse 31, as the hip of Jacob, his support, his body support. Jacob fought with I think it's Jesus. He fought and he hit him on the hip, on the side of where Jacob rested on. So he limped after that. So he was hit on the hip and he was limping after that when Jacob fought at the river Jabbok. In Exodus 25 verse 12 and 14, which is regarding the side panel of the Ark of the Covenant. Exodus 26 in verse 20, 26, 27 and 35, which is mentioned the side of the tabernacle, one of the sides of the tabernacle. Exodus 27 verse 7, it's the side, one of the sides of the altar. Exodus 30 verse 4 is one of the sides of the scent, the smell altar, where you put a smell like myrrh or things like that, incense, and you burn them and they scent like it scent nice. But the mention is one of the, in building that altar, it's mentioned, tselah is one of the sides of that altar. Exodus 36 verse 25, 31, 32 as the side of the tabernacle. Exodus 37 verse 3, 5 and 27 as the side of the Ark of the Covenant and the side of the incense altar. Exodus 38 verse 7 as the side of the altar. In Joshua 18 verse 28, and there tselah is the name of a place that is in the inheritance of Benjamin. The Benjamin tribe had a place called tselah. In 2 Samuel 16 verse 13, it's the side of a hill, a hillside, a mountainside. 2 Samuel 21 verse 14, it's the place of the Benjaminites where Saul, Jonathan and Kish, the father of Saul, were buried. It's the same place as mentioned in Joshua 18, I reckon, I guess. So that's the side where these kings and people were buried. The first Kings, chapter 6, verse 5, 15, 16 and 34, it's a side chamber of the temple, or a wooden, how do you call it? A wooden thing which you put at a wall. How's it called? A wooden plug, well, something, a wooden covering of the wall, or a door half, the half of a door in the temple. In 1 Kings 7 verse 3, it's a support beam in the temple, and then come some stuff, other stuff which is not less positive, but also related to a side or the lack of a side. In Job 18 verse 12, at his side, to be at his side, to be accompanying him or stick with him. And Psalm 35 verse 15, it's limping again, or a limping. So the lack of support. Yeah. So if you fall and you limp, then there is lack of support. In Psalm 38 verse 17 in the King James Version and verse 18 in the Dutch Statenvertaling or the NBG, the Nederlandse Bijbelgenootschap translation, NBG translation. It means limping or losing support. In Jeremiah 20 verse 10, it's the falling again in losing support. In Ezekiel 41 verse 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 26, well, it's talking about the side chambers of the temple. In Micah, Micah, whatever you call it, however you pronounce it, chapter 4, verse 6 and 7, it's to gather the crippled ones, or the ones who lack support. And then God will raise them and bring them back to their place. But it's the gathering of the ones that limp, the ones that are lacking support. And in Zephaniah 3 verse 19, it's the limping, it deals about the limping people, the ones that lack support. Okay, so in all verses, there's about 41 verses, it talks about support and or the lack of support or a side chamber in the temple or a side of a tabernacle temple. So, well, if you look at the side of a temple, it is not the worst position that you as a woman can have if you are compared to be a part of the temple, a side wall, a part of the side wall of the temple. It's not a bad position. There are many worse positions you can have, biblically spoken, if you were called differently. So it's a very favorable position that is mentioned in all of this word, tselah. So it's actually not such a bad position, as the Bible uses the same word for all these meanings. And also next to that, but it shows that if a man lacks a woman in his life, then he is limping. He's actually, not helpless maybe, but at least limping. He's not complete. He's not standing up straight, and he's limping, and he needs actually support. So some women have problems with their position as a woman in biblical sense, and they have been put down over many ages. But if you look at the meaning of where you come from the side, whether it's a rib, it could be a rib, I don't know, but it's in Western Bibles it's translated as a rib. It could be, but it's actually a side, one of the sides of Adam, of the man. And it could be like a hip part, but indeed it could be a rib. It could also be from a shoulder. I don't know. Maybe it could be an ear. I mean, no, I'm not going to make jokes about that. I could make some jokes about it, but I'm not going to. But the woman was taken from one of the sides of Adam, and lacking. If you as women would not be there, we men would limp. Yeah, so it's a very favorable position that you women have. Also, Jesus and the humankind, the believing human part of humankind, the ones that want to follow God, are considered to be a support to Jesus, just as the woman is support to man. That same parallel is being used as the God-believing people is the support of Jesus. We are, as Messianic or Christian or Jewish people, we are meant to be a support to God of the Messiah. We Christians believe that that's Jesus Christ. The Jews look at that thing a little bit different, okay? But we are meant or placed in a position of being a support to God, to help God. Of course, God in himself, he doesn't need help. He can do anything himself, but he choose to use some people to help him, to assist him. God would not limp if we would not help him. But he doesn't need a specific individual, but he chose to work together with us. And not that he needed, but it's a choice of him. He chose that he said, okay, I create some people that believe in me, and they can function as my support. So in that position also, the woman is placed as a support of a man. So that position is not unfavorable, even though that the position of the woman has been not always positive in history, unfortunately, and based on sometimes based on the Bible, but that's not right. It's not correct. The position of a woman is pretty high and pretty favorable. If you look at the biblical background of where the woman comes from and what it means in the rest of the Bible, that same word. Well, that's actually what I wanted to share with you, because there is a lot of misunderstanding of the women's position, including from the biblical perspective. And based on these verses, which I found this morning, and I know some ladies that have really had some big time trouble with how women were treated in history. I know them personally, and it is right. It's correct, I think, to apologize, me as a man, towards all women in this world, that yes, indeed, in history, your position as a woman has not always been validated as should have been. I apologize for that, and ask you forgiveness in the name of the rest of the mankind, manhood, the man of this world, because the Bible tells us a different story about it. You are very, very valuable in God's eyes, and he mentioned you as he uses the same word as a part of the temple, as a support of the temple, as a support beam in the temple, etc. And that's not the least position one can imagine. I mean, there are far worse positions one can imagine. So that's what I wanted to share with you. And also, like I said, humanity, the believing in God, believing humanity is also considered to have that same position, because the position of the God-believing person is also regarded in the same position as a woman towards her man. As Jesus towards the believing community, the church, or however you want to call it, the same position is the man-woman position. So it's not unfavorable. It's not a bad position, ladies. But yeah, mistakes have been made, I agree, and it should not have been done. So I apologize for that. Okay, this is what I wanted to share. Hasta la vista.